Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's going to be so fun. We're interviewing the great Andrew Judd, who I have been getting to know over the last year, and I'm so excited to bring to you. Andrew is one of the most romantic, iconic painters that I have met. He's winning plein air awards all over the place. He's painted in Viennese cafes. He paints and teaches in India and Austria. What a story. So come on along, it's going to be great. Andrew, who are you?
Oh, Julia. Well, I didn't realize that was so romantic, but I'll accept that, accreditation. Some people might think otherwise. Well, I love painting. I've painted my whole life. When I say that, I guess, from high school on.
Yeah.
That's when I really started to paint and draw. I signed up to a commercial art course, which happened to be at my old high school, which is Burnhamthorpe Collegiate in Etobicoke.
Okay.
That's really the beginning of the story. My art teacher, Gary Cruikshank, who's gone now, was super supportive of me. I managed to squeeze my way into the second year because I didn't realize there was an art course at the school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and my parents wanted me to be a doctor or a dentist or something like that actually made it, you could make a living at it, which I understood, was in their interest and mine too, I suppose. I just always loved art, and I never really practiced it much. I was sitting in health class beside a guy who's an artist today. His name is Norm Stiff. You can look him up. He was drawing in his book next to me in health class, and his drawings were absolutely phenomenal. And I asked him, how do you do that? Where did you learn how to do that? And he said, well, there's an art course at the school. So I looked into it, and I just actually decided that day that I wanted to be an artist. I mean, it's absolutely insane when you think about it.
And you were in grade 11 or 12?
I was in grade 9.
Oh, in grade 9?
Yeah, in grade 9, yeah. So, of course, all my program was set for, university and all that sort of thing. So.
To be a doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So when I went home and announced to my parents that, I'm going to change my courses, I want to be an artist, I won't say all hell broke loose. There was kind of just a deadly silence. And they basically said no. And I said, but, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And, well, how do you know you want to do it?
Because I saw this guy in health class.
Yeah, who could draw so well in his book. I mean, it's simple. You just take a course and you become an artist. Of course, they thought I was nuts, and I went to change my programs at the school. I wanted to do that, and my parents actually called the guidance counselor or the principal and said, please don't let him change, his courses. I think he's just kind of on a kick somehow.
Okay.
So anyhow, my guidance counselor met with me and decided he would try to dissuade me from, changing my courses. He took this big book out, which was a book of statistics, and said, well, I'm going to flip through this and just ask you how you feel about this after, we talk about this. And he said, by the way, your parents don't want you to change your courses. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I understand. And he said, well, why do you want to be an artist? And I said, because I just do. I feel it. I just know I want to be an artist. And he said, well, here we go. He opened the book up and he said, artist. He looked at the numbers and he said, one, and I'm going to guess at the number. It was something like 3,632 out of this number. Yeah. Of the people who actually do art at high school level do anything even remotely related to it afterwards.
Remotely related to it?
Remotely related.
Even design, marketing?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, so it was a big number. And of course, this is going back many years. And it was a book. It wasn't the internet.
Right. Yes.
Now it might be a smaller number. But anyhow, he said, only one makes it. And I said, well, thank you. He said, so does that discourage you? And I said, well, if you told me none, I'd be discouraged. But that one is me. So, I mean, I know it's insane.
That's amazing.
But it's a true story. It really is. And he said, well, this is impossible. He said, I'm going to send you to the art teacher and
Okay.
see what he thinks. I went to my art teacher and he said, well, they sent you to me. What do you want to do? And I said, I want to be an artist. And he said, well, the first year is already almost over. You haven't joined. Do you have a portfolio? And I said, well, what's that? He said, well, do you have any drawings or paintings to show me? And I said, well, no, but I can make some.
Yeah, sure.
And he said, really? And I said, yeah, well, why not? So he said, well, I'm going to give you 3 projects. I want you to do an animal in pastel.
Okay.
I want you to do a self-portrait, and I want you to do a still life. And of course, I didn't know what a still life was. I had to ask him. He said, well, take a piece of wood or something and draw it. Come back to me in 3 weeks with these things. So I went home, and what I didn't know was that you could actually get paper without lines in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I had paper at home that had
You
lines
had lined
in it,
paper.
But I actually bought a box of oil pastels. I found those, and I found out about watercolor. Like, I really didn't know. I didn't have a clue. Honestly, didn't have a clue.
And you're 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, of course, at 14, you think you know everything, but I didn't have a clue. So I went home and I worked on these. One was a bear, one was a self-portrait, and the other was a still life of a piece of driftwood.
Mm-hmm.
And I did one each night. That's what I did. So I worked into the wee hours of the morning. And after 4 days, I went and knocked on the art teacher's door. And he said, what do you want? And I said, well, I've done 3 things. You asked me. And he said, oh, well, you had 3 weeks. And I said, yeah, but if they're not very good, then I can go back and do them again.
Oh, okay.
Right? I've got 3 weeks to impress you. And he said, well, let's have a look, and
That should have been impressive already.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I was really keen. I needed to prove myself. So anyhow, I laid them out in front of him, and he said, well, they're not bad. And I thought, oh, that's good. He said, but I'm going to tell you, if you join this course, you're the bottom of the class.
Right.
You are just they're way ahead of you. And I said, okay, I'll just work hard. And he said, well, if you're going to do this, you need to take an art course in the summertime. So I took a summer class. And I went back, and I went literally from the bottom of the class. I was competing against Norm, who was unbelievable.
Yep.
And the other students in the class were so good. And I just did every project 3 times. That's what I ended up doing. And I would say, take the best one.
Amazing.
So I just worked really hard. That's kind of the beginning of the story. And I quit my piano classes. My parents were beside themselves. I'd made it to grade 8 conservatory in practical, and I just stopped. I just focused completely.
They must have been so
drawing.
worried.
Yeah, they probably thought I'd had a stroke or something. I don't know. And it took some years for them to come around to this idea. But that's part of the whole story.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember in high school, I had a similar thing, but I was required to take typing. I could do the art courses, but I had to take typing.
Okay.
Because ultimately they thought I'd be a secretary.
Well, that's interesting. I took typing because I knew that was the only class that was full of girls.
That's a smart 14-year-old.
Well, yeah, but I didn't know what to do once I was in there. I learned how to type, but I'm a geeky kid. I was very geeky, like black, horn-rimmed glasses and really thick ones because my eyesight was so poor. I didn't have a clue about the girls, but the typing was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and now with computer skills, I'm glad I took it.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
Well, now you can talk to your machine.
Yeah.
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 Sometimes it says the wrong thing back to you, but anyhow.
But side note,
Yeah.
but so this is how you explored art at the beginning in high school, and did you go on to college?
I did. So I worked really hard in high school. I entered actually an art competition in the last year. This was a competition for all the boroughs in Toronto area. And for the borough of Etobicoke, I won first place, which was really, really neat. It was a drawing competition.
Yep.
And as a result of that, I was given a pass to go to the Art Gallery of Ontario. I could go for free anytime I wanted.
Oh, nice.
And every Saturday there was an art class for young people, and I was able to join that for free.
Oh, so they gave you that not only you could attend, but
Yeah.
take anything that they offered.
Yeah. So
That's
that was
fantastic.
terrific. So every Saturday I'd, jump on the TTC and head downtown and draw with other people, which interestingly, most of them were adults. Like, there were a couple of other younger people, but
Yeah.
for the most part, there were adults who were taking
So you
these
bussed
courses.
there as well? You didn't rely on your mom and dad to take you there?
Yeah. My parents weren't supporting me financially for this, so I worked as a short order cook in a restaurant. I guess I still had a paper route when I first started this, when I was 14. So I saved my money. I cut evergreen trees, Christmas trees one summer. I moved furniture another summer, and I took on whatever jobs I could get. My first commission, actually, as an artist, I was in high school, and there was a bakery in Etobicoke, and they needed some no parking signs.
Oh,
So my very first commercial project was no parking signs. and they went up, and they were there for years and years and years. It was McCall's Cake Shop, which was quite a famous
that's so
cake shop.
fun. So what college did you go to?
I ended up going to the Ontario College of Art, and that's what it was called back then. Of course, now it's OCADU.
Yep.
I went. I had a good portfolio. By the time Mr. Cruikshank was done with me, he told me how to make my presentation, and I really worked on some good projects. And I took a portfolio in, and I wanted to do advanced standing, which would allow me to go into the second year directly, if possible, because I had a good portfolio. I felt it was strong. I also realized, well, there were a couple of other students who had gone ahead of me, and they talked to me about this and said, there's a possibility. I couldn't afford to go for 4 years.
Okay.
It was expensive. And expensive back then was like $600 tuition.
Yes.
So that sounds like nothing today, but that was a lot back then. And I thought if I can get into second year, then maybe, I can at least save a year on the money side of things.
Smart. It's a tip. Hot tip.
Yeah, you can always try. Yeah.
Try.
So in the end, I ended up on a waiting list for advanced standing. And a foreign student backed out of it, and they said, okay, you're in. And I was just thrilled, totally thrilled to be accepted, even to be accepted to the college. I would have been happy in first year too, but to make it to the
So
second
did you
was-
spend the next 3 years there?
I spent so it's a 4-year program. I spent the next 2 years there, and I graduated. So this is another kind of crazy story. There was a student who had gone to the same high school as me. His name was Anthony Sardina, a very fine painter and illustrator. And he had applied to graduate a year early because his portfolio was so good. The committee looked at his work, and they said, yeah, we'll let you go. We'll let you graduate. So I thought, maybe I can do this too. When I went to the president of the college to talk to him about this, he said, why would we let you go earlier? And I said, well, this is my portfolio. It's pretty strong, and I have a chance to get maybe into the business right away, and I don't have to pay another year's tuition. I was completely frank with him, and he said, no. He said, that's an ugly precedent. We're not going to let people go through art college in 2 years when it's a 4-year program. And I said, but Anthony did it. Why can't I?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not going to let you. And then I said the very cocky thing. I said, I could get a job in the business tomorrow. And he said, well, then do it. And I thought, oh boy, now I'm into it.
Yeah.
So I thought, how am I going to do this? I need to prove myself.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So you didn't back down?
No, I didn't back down.
You didn't think, ooh, I made a mistake?
No. I really believed I could be an artist in the business. I was pretty confident about my work. And so I immediately went to my teachers and I asked if they knew of anyone who was looking to employ someone. And one of the teachers who was a mentor to me, his name was Will Davies, an amazing man, amazing, super guy, a real gentleman. And I learned so much from him. He said, I think Bill Biddle is looking for
Oh,
someone.
Bill Biddle.
William Biddle was known to a lot of people.
Yes. I think if you're in the Hamilton area, you would. Bill Biddle taught a lot at the Dundas Valley
He
School
did.
of Art.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a name I didn't expect to hear.
Yeah. So
Cool.
So I called Bill. I call him Bill now, but I called him Mr. Biddle then on the phone, and I said, I understand that you're looking for someone, and he says, oh yeah. He says, well, you know what? I've seen 60 students already, and he said I've got 4 or 5 that will fit the job. He said I'm not looking anymore, and I begged him. I said, please. I said, even if it's for 3 minutes, for 5 minutes, to look at my portfolio. Maybe you can recommend someone else to me. And he said, okay, well, he gave me the address, and I went down to see him. And he was down on Front Street in Toronto beside the St. Lawrence Market. And I walked into this studio space, and I opened up my portfolio, and he went through it just like this.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. He looked at it. He says, well, your work is comparable to, the others that I've chosen. Why would I hire you? And I said, because I'll work for free. He didn't know I was trying to prove something to the president of the college.
Okay.
And he said, really? I said, okay, there's one caveat. I said, when I start to make money for you, then I would expect you would pay me something. He said, you got the job.
Oh my goodness.
I worked for Bill for 5 years.
That's so
Yeah.
tenacity. You were smart.
Well, I don't know how smart. I think I was stubborn and just crazy.
Sure.
Yeah, but I really wanted this. I really, really wanted
So
to be
what
an
did you
artist.
do for him?
So Bill was famous for doing storyboards for film production, for commercials. There was a lot of storyboarding done with markers and
Yeah,
pen.
you're 67, correct?
Yeah.
I'm 59. So you're 8 years ahead of me, but I do remember storyboarding and learning all of that when I took illustration at Sheridan.
Yeah. It's actually really tough, and I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Because you did 2 years instead of 4.
I think more than that,
You missed a few courses.
I didn't know how to draw.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. I mean, I did some life drawing. That was okay. They weren't great. But illustration back then meant that you would actually take a photograph of something, you would project it onto a board and trace it out and then paint it. So illustration was just getting something done.
and painting was your skill.
I did a lot of airbrushing,
Okay.
and I could draw okay, but storyboarding is learning how to draw it from your head, and I hadn't done enough figure work. And so after Bill, tried me out for about 3 weeks, he said, I don't think you could draw your way out of a wet paper bag. He said, I really don't know what they taught you at art school. And so he said, I'll teach you, but I'm going to give you 6 months, and I'll teach you.
Yeah, he was a good teacher.
He was a very good teacher and a tough teacher. And I worked 20-hour days. I just worked and worked and worked to learn how to draw from my imagination, which I hadn't done before.
But you had to have those skills to draw from your imagination.
He taught a system,
Yeah.
a method,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I went to every life drawing class I possibly could go to.
And
Yeah.
years ago when I took life drawing, they're nude.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my husband's like, what? My mother-in-law was like, you have to look at naked people? I'm like, yes, but you really need to know
Yeah.
how the body works so
Yeah.
you could draw how the jeans lay on them,
Yeah, exactly.
right? You
yeah.
got to follow the form.
Try and draw a pair of pants without legs in them, and it looks kind of funny.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, Bill taught sort of a triangular method, which is a really neat little system for getting a basic form in place. But then figure drawing adds, to your knowledge.
Yeah, your line composition and weight and
Anatomy
everything.
a little bit, not so much. It's more
Technique.
about shapes and proportions and size
Yep.
and so on. So
It's where I learned all my drawing skills, was
Yeah.
in life drawing.
it's so good. It's
Yep.
so important.
Take
Yeah.
life drawing.
It's so important. Yeah, take life drawing
Yes.
for sure. I worked for him for 6 months, and I was so nervous, thinking he's going to fire me. There's just no way. But by the time he realized how committed I was, and I was learning and growing, he said, "Well, we'll keep you on for a little while longer." And I was always nervous about my job. Like, honestly, he was so good. He was just so good at what he did. He did a lot of Harlequin book jackets.
Okay.
He was fairly well known for this. In fact, hundreds of them.
Yep.
And I worked as a photographer for him. I would hire the models.
Yep.
Once
That's
we got,
fascinating.
Yeah, and take lots of photos of from different angles. He would paint from them in black and he had black and white photos to work from.
Yep, and he would work his own
And
color
he would work
stories.
his own colors into
Yep.
them. Yeah.
So you learned so much
Bill
from
went
a time where there's no digital,
Yeah.
no layering like that.
Nothing like that.
No.
Yeah. I even learned how to fix marker mistakes, which was, cutting out a piece of paper and dropping
Yep.
another one into that
Yep.
spot.
Marker rendering was the thing.
Bill's history is interesting because he went to the Art Students League in New York City. So he had really fine training. It was
Okay.
classical training. He was amazing.
Well, you're going to have to look up William Biddle, Biddle.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's gone now, sadly.
Yeah.
But his work is still around.
I never got to take a class from him, but my sister did at Dundas Valley School of Art.
Okay.
Yeah. So then you ultimately started your own business, didn't you, after that?
So, yeah, after 5 years of working with him, things started to slow down, and for him. And he came to me one day and he said, he called me Andy. He said, he's one of the only people who ever did that. But he said, Andy, I've got some good news and some bad news. What do you want to hear first? And I said, well, give me the bad news, I guess, so the good news makes me feel better. And he said, I got to let you go. He said, I don't have enough work. I can't employ you full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, Bill, what's the good news? And he said, well, I'll give you 3 days a week work. And you can still keep your desk there. I won't charge you rent. And I'm thinking, oh man, I have to pay rent for my desk, and I've been here for 5 years. And he said, no, I won't charge you rent. I'll give you enough work for 3 days a week. Which was really generous when I think about it, looking back. He said, you have to go out and freelance. You have to get your own work now. So I put a portfolio together. I thanked him for, having the 3 days. That was something. At that point, I had a mortgage. I had responsibilities. And it's like, ugh, now what do I do? And I started knocking on doors. I went to design companies, advertising companies. And in 3 months' time, I had so much work that I hired Bill to help me with it.
Oh my goodness.
I just really wanted to keep doing what I was doing. I love to draw and I love to paint and I love the creative world.
So you were doing advertising at that point?
So I opened a company actually in Hamilton. It was called Tree Angles Advertising. The tree stood for To Reach Everyone Everywhere.
Okay.
And that was ambitious. But we looked after local companies like the Barn Fruit Markets back then.
Yes, you told us about that.
Stony Creek Dairy.
You developed a lot of their
Carter Shovels.
advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did this with a partner. It was a friend who actually, we knew each other from the same church that we belonged to.
Yeah.
And he was living out in British Columbia at that time, and he came to Hamilton, and we lived together for, I guess, almost a year until eventually I bought a house. At that point, I'd separated in my first marriage, and I was kind of on my own and started to get into buying old houses in Hamilton. I mean, it's crazy, but they were cheap back then.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. So.
Did you also do the work in these old houses?
Yeah, in some cases, yeah. I was trying to do the renovations as much as I could myself. 'Cause
Amazing.
I couldn't afford to, hire a lot of construction people.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a clue about that, but I learned through books and, watching other people.
Sounds like this is a pattern with Andrew. He wants to do it, he'll figure out how.
We can learn.
Yeah.
We can learn, and it's way easier now.
Yeah.
I think because so much is available on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the internet. So, and especially now for anyone who's an aspiring artist or who wants to learn more about painting and drawing, there are so many programs. Like YouTube is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
There are lots of programs out there where you can really pick up these things from really good people.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are really good teachers out there.
Even free.
Yeah, absolutely. For
Absolutely,
free. Yeah.
So
it's
good.
amazing.
So then when did you discover, so you're working, you're paying your mortgage, you're doing all the advertising, you're learning any way you could.
Yeah.
Were you painting for yourself?
I guess all along I was always trying different things. So with illustration, you're always experimenting. You know, how can I layer something a certain way? Can I paint something and take it away and
Yeah.
change it? You know, how do I fix my mistakes? There are always things that you can try. So I was always curious about, you know, the old masters' methods. How did they layer? How did that work? How do you do this with contemporary work? And yeah, I've always been fascinated with what you could do with paint. So I would sometimes go and sketch outdoors, and
Yes.
sometimes I would paint outside. I didn't even know what plein air painting was back then. But I would paint, you know, what I saw around me. I did still lives and all those
Yeah.
kinds of things. Tried portraits, painted pets. You know, anything you could throw in front of me, I was happy to give it a try.
Yeah.
I just didn't say no. I just kept saying yes. Well,
Yeah.
let's see how that works.
That's a good, don't say no, just
yeah.
keep saying yes.
Yeah, just try it. Because when you try it, you find out, well, you learn, right?
Yeah.
You find out what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's how we learn.
Even if it puts you in a vulnerable place. Because sometimes when we try things, we
Yeah.
feel so vulnerable
Absolutely.
about it. We feel like, oh, I should be able to do this well to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's the key, is allowing yourself to muddle through that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's far more disappointing not to try. If you just decide, you know,
Oh my
I
goodness,
can't.
the gems that are coming
yeah,
out of this.
I can't do that. Well, how do you know you can't, for starters?
Yeah.
And even if you can't do it, or you struggle with it, at least you've made the effort.
I love that. It's far more disappointing to not try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, what do you
and that
have,
can apply to anything.
what do you have to lose?
Yeah.
With painting, it's just paint. I tell my students all the time.
It's just paint.
It's just paint.
I tell my students that too. But it's amazing how vulnerable putting something down on canvas feels. So that's a whole nother story. So now you've retired from your business and you paint.
So I sold the company to one of the freelancers that I worked with. My wife and I, my present wife and I, we moved to Montreal.
Okay.
And it was a francophone environment. It was very hard to get into, but I did find an English company, and I worked as actually as an art director, as an illustrator and art director with a company called Snell Advertising.
Okay.
They were really good to me, and I was able to make some kind of living from them. And then I was also starting to paint more, and starting to enter my work into galleries in Montreal, and doing some portrait work, some commission work. We decided, after things were getting really intense in Quebec, you know, with all the language issues,
Right.
we decided to move back to Toronto. And that's when I started working with a company called Masterfile. And I started painting, you know, they're paintings, but they're illustrations
Right.
too.
Yes.
They're metaphors.
That's right.
And I painted from my imagination.
Yes.
And I produced a little over 200 images for them. And they were licensed, these images, and I made a royalty, actually, from these images all around the world. They were published in a lot of different magazines, and I was very thankful to be able to work with them. It was an amazing company.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was going to life drawing classes and working on my I'm going to call it fine art, because I don't know, you know, fine art to me is fine no matter how you look at it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's just interesting how we label things. I was always working at that. And then, long story short, my wife had an opportunity, was invited to go to Austria to work in Vienna through her boss in molecular biology. And so, of course, I'm more than happy to follow her.
Absolutely.
And spent, at one point, 3 years, for the most part, painting in the cafes in Vienna. Like, literally in the cafes.
This is where the romance starts.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean,
Painting in Vienna cafes.
in the cafes, I had to pinch myself. It was really exciting. It was tough to get going because no one knew me in Vienna.
Sure.
There was one point when we first went there when it was a real low point. because I didn't know how to get into, a gallery there. No one knew me. I didn't know what to show them. So I drew a lot of the buildings around downtown. And I sat in front of Stephansdom, which is a giant cathedral in the middle of Vienna. And I put my drawings on the ground. And just hoping that someone would ask about them. I just sat there in the middle of
And
the
we've
square.
all seen those people
Yeah, they're there. They're
in
out
Europe.
there.
That's right.
Interestingly, I was the only one. There are other parts of the city where they do this, but I just thought, well, why would I
Go
work
there.
against
Yeah.
the competition?
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit in front of the biggest, busiest cathedral that I can find, and I put my drawings out. And people would come and kind of be curious, never asked any questions. And so I put a little sign that said 20 euros. So 20 euros for a drawing, which would be about $30.
Sure.
And a very well-dressed man came out of the cathedral, and he stood and he looked at my work, and he went into his vest, pulled out a wallet, took out a 20-euro note, and dropped it on the ground in front of me. And I said, thank you. Which drawing do you want? He was already walking away.
Oh.
And I thought, this man thinks I'm begging. And I thought, no, this is wrong. This feels so wrong.
Okay.
I'm not begging. I'm showing my work, and I would expect to give my work to someone for a price, of course.
That was emotional.
It was.
Yeah.
So I gathered my drawings up. I was in tears, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. I gathered my drawings up, and
You felt very devalued.
I did. And there's nothing wrong with begging.
Yeah.
But I didn't need to do that. So I took my drawings and I went to the first gallery that I could find, walking up the street. And I walked in the door and I said, "Hi, I'm an artist from Toronto, Canada. I'd love to show you my work. And if you like it, that's one thing, but maybe you can recommend somewhere else where my work might fit." And they said, "We'll take your work. We like what you're doing."
And
Can
you
bring
went
us
from the
more?"
beginning, from the front of the church to that
To
gallery,
that gallery,
same day.
within minutes. Within minutes.
Wow.
I thought, I will knock on every gallery door in this city until someone says yes. That was the deal.
Amazing.
So it ended up turning into 2 shows in that gallery. And the first show was sellout. The embassy, the Canadian embassy in Vienna, actually supported me in this. I went to the embassy and said, "Is there any help you can give me?" And they said, "We can put little flags out for you. We'll bring some wine in from Canada." And I'm thinking, wine from Canada? We're in a wine region here. It was a little bit embarrassing. And nothing to say against Canadian wine, but
At the time.
At the time,
Yes, now it's- now it's award-winning, yes.
It's amazing wine now.
Yeah.
But back then, it was like, oh no, this is not going to compete. But anyhow, lots of people came. I sold well, and that just kind of started, doors opening for me in Vienna.
That is amazing.
We returned to Canada after 3 years because my wife had helped her boss set up the lab there. But he put the invitation out again saying, if you ever want to come back, we'd be happy to have you. So we did go back, and we went back for 5 years the next time. And again, I painted like crazy in the cafes. By then, I'd made some artist friends, and did a lot more plein air painting, a lot more painting in cafes. Wrote a book about it. Yeah, it was just being exposed to all the European methods and being in the
and taking
in the
your
galleries.
business acumen, you took all the business that you had ever learned, and you applied it, and you took every chance.
I really did. Yeah, I mean, some of
And
it
you
was
made
just,
opportunities for yourself.
I think I was driven to get it in priority. I love to draw and paint.
Yeah.
And yes, I want to make a living at it. Of course, I'm really happy when people appreciate and purchase my work. But I realized if the work is good enough and appealing enough, if it works for me, and I have to do it for me first.
Yeah.
Then somehow or other that resonates with people.
Yeah.
And I've made so many poor paintings. So honestly, like I could build a fire as big as a house. You achieve success through failure.
When I have poor paintings in my studio, I actually need to turn them around because sometimes they'll really like speak loudly to me.
Yeah, they say, why did you do that?
What can you do?
Yeah.
Can you even do this?
Could you fix this part? At least this part.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
We've collected other artists' works over the years, people who we really love, you know, and
Yeah.
I hang other artists' works around in my studio
Yeah.
and in our
For,
home.
for the inspiration.
Yeah, because they inspire you, they lift you.
Yeah.
Art's something that can, paintings can really change
That's
your
right.
day, and they elevate you.
The romance of you, like you go around Vienna, you paint in cafes, you go back and forth from Toronto to Vienna. I hear you go to India a lot, and you teach.
I've taught in Austria,
In
and
Austria?
I've taught Germany, in Greece. We've taught in Greece. So a friend of mine, his name is Stefan Nutzel, he and I partnered up to teach a lot. In fact, this year we're going to be teaching again in Vienna.
Oh my goodness.
And following that, going to a place called Willingshausen in Germany, which is the oldest artist colony in all of Europe. And I was invited to go there 3 years back, and it's amazing. We're painting in this little village that's 400, 500, 600 years old,
Amazing.
and artists come from all different parts of the world to
And-
paint there.
And you have a presence on Instagram and Facebook, and this is how I think I found you initially on Instagram.
Okay.
And I may have invited you to participate in some of the things that we've done. And as we've gotten to know each other, it's just been so fascinating to see your journeys and to see the work. The work, guys, is incredible. You're winning plein air awards all over the place. Tell us a little bit about the awards that you've been winning, and we'll put up some of these paintings.
So the beginning of COVID, it was a tough time for so many people. And I just thought, I'm going to bury myself in my work. I mean, I love to paint. So I started focusing on doing more, I'm going to call it again fine art, but, paintings of some kind. And started entering different competitions, and one of them is Plein Air Magazine. I entered a few, and I wasn't getting, very many results. And then I got a first place for the best oil. They don't have that category anymore.
Okay.
They've changed the category, so there are more of them. But this was given, I was given first place for the best oil by C.W. Mundy, and he is someone who's really known in the U.S. And so when I found out that I'd won this, I thought, I'm going to start entering more things.
Okay.
Let's see where this goes. So
Yes. Artists, we do respond to praise, right?
we love praise. Yeah, we love praise. Yeah, when it happens. So I started entering more and started focusing on different categories and trying to see, well, could I win in that category or that category?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So even for yourself, you haven't put yourself in any box.
No, yeah. So one of the things that I've tried to
I
do
love that.
throughout my entire career is not to be, and this goes against all marketing rules. I ran a marketing company, and there's one rule, and that is make sure that people know who you are.
Right. Your brand.
Well, no one knows who I am. And so I've done this so successfully that no one knows who I am.
I do. I know who you are.
So I love painting in different styles, different subjects, and I get bored easily.
Okay.
I don't want to do the same thing over and over again, but I love the creative process. So, I'll paint people, pets, places, anything that is exciting within a moment. If it's a still life, well, paint it. If you're outdoors, paint it or draw it.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
capture that somehow. So I love trying different things. In some ways, that may feel inconsistent.
The work itself, once you get to know Andrew's work, there's your thumbprint is through all of them.
Okay, other people say that and they see it. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what
I
that
do.
is.
I see it.
Yeah.
And we are so pleased to be not only getting to know Andrew, but now at Crown and Press, at my gallery in Hamilton, Ontario, we're going to have Andrew's work, so you can come and find his work here. and we're going to be representing it online, and you can buy reproductions of Andrew's work. It's that licensing and that residual income thing. It's absolutely fantastic. And I think this could be where we start to close out our conversation. But I want everybody to know the really special story that you have about your mom and your art. And I think we're going to end with this story. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Is there anything other than that story that you want to make sure that you share?
There've got to be 50 or 60 other stories, but we've, got the basics here
Okay.
already.
Let's hear this story about your mom.
So I was adopted at birth. I found out that I was adopted when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Because we went to the eye doctor. My eyes were very poor. And the receptionist asked my mom, is he adopted or is he yours? Which is kind of a crazy question. I'd always been told I was adopted, but I didn't know what that meant. I thought that was just like, some people are Pentecostals, some people are Catholic, I'm adopted, like I didn't know what the word meant.
Well, you're only 7.
Yeah, I was a kid. So I didn't really know the meaning. But when that happened at the eye doctor, I went and sat down beside my mom in the car and I said, if I'm not yours, well, whose am I? And she said, well, we've always told you were adopted. And I said, but are you my mom? She says, well, I'm your mom, but another woman gave birth to you. And from that day forward, I wanted to know who that was.
Okay.
So, and I didn't want to hurt my parents either. They were amazing to me. They really were. They loved me. They cared for me. I grew up in a great home, but I always wanted to know, what are the origins? Long story short, at the age of almost 40, through the Canadian Adoption Disclosure Registry, I was able to contact my birth mother. Her name is Barbara Elizabeth Mercer. She actually passed away recently, but we connected. Yeah, we connected with each other. We had, I'm going to call it a 7-year honeymoon before we got tired of each other. That's a whole other story. But she was an artist. She was a painter.
That's amazing.
A painter, a poet, and she played piano.
Oh my goodness.
And so when I went to see her, she lived in Cabbagetown. When I saw her for the first time, I went up to the front door. She opened the door, and it was like I was looking in a mirror. And I always say, I was like, if I was dressed in drag, that's what I would look like. But she looked so much like me, it was unbelievable. And she invited me into her space. She asked if I like smoked oysters. I said I love them. Do you like red wine? Yes, I love that too. Well, that's all I have, and that's fine. I can live on those for at least, a day or two. And she said, let me take you to my studio. So I went to her studio, which was on the main floor of the house, and I almost fell over when I walked into this space. Because on her easel, she had been painting arrows into her paintings.
Yeah.
And in my studio, and I'd never met her before in my life, at home I was painting targets.
That is wild.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
That must have been, talk about emotional experiences in your life. That must have been so profound.
It was unreal. And second to that were other paintings where she'd been painting keys and I'd been painting keyholes. So, I mean, I still get goosebumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Did you tell her?
Yeah, I said.
Like immediately?
I said, I've got painting. You have to see my paintings. We talked to each other on the phone before we met, and I didn't know what her work looked like. So it was really, really something.
That is amazing.
And then I realized that's why I wanted to be an artist. I mean, it's, yes, environment is one thing for sure. It influences, but there is some kind of, I don't know what to call it. It's genetic material.
It's innate.
I don't know what that is, but there's something within us that tells us this is the path.
This is the path.
Yeah.
I had the same. I always knew.
Yeah.
My mom was told, when I was in grade 3, did you know she could draw? My mom was also an artist.
Okay.
So my mom just went, sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Sure. And so then I drew all through high school and college, and
Wow.
Yeah, and I think we have very similar stories. Well, we can chat for years, I'm sure.
Look
Andrew.
at what you've done. I mean, it's really stepping into this space has been incredible.
Well,
I'm super excited about
I first
meeting
met you in person in this space.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we've just got this journey that we're going on now. So I want to invite you to check out Andrew's work at Crown and Press. Make sure that you go and check out Andrew at andrewjudd.com and artlabel.ca. And I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you were inspired. There were so many gems. I want to go through and make like Andrew-isms that we can use. Andrew, thank you for coming and for doing this and telling us your story.
Julia, thank you. It's so great to meet you, and it feels like a meant to be somehow.
I know, it really does.
I'm super excited about, being back in Hamilton again, in this environment, in this beautiful space that you have. It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
If anyone is watching and has never been to Julia's gallery, you've got to get here. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a fantastic cafe, there's a fabulous gallery, and you have to meet Julia, who is a force. The energy that you have for this is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
And yeah, really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this whole
You are more than welcome.
process.
We are honored. See you later.